Never a dull moment in Baton Rouge. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love. Best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry that produces the best discussion, debate, and analysis in college football. We got Lon Philip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey. So before we do anything, you get done watching this video, you head on over to LSU Odyssey to get the complete breakdown of LSU football, both on the field and off the field. Lon, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Mark. Thanks, my man. Sorry to keep you waiting. Mark is the most patient man in the business.
Am I really? Okay, I'll take it. I don't agree with it, but I will take that compliment because patience, I hear, is a virtue.
Mark, you are a virtue, my man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. Well, thank you, because I know that you would love to talk about LSU winning a national championship 2 years ago and possibly making a run in the SEC again this year, and it's just sticking to football, because that's why we're doing this, because we love the game and we love everything that goes with it, the traditions and the pageantry and the play on the field and everything. But sometimes folks go awry, and Les Miles would be front and center poster child for all of that recently. So he ran a certain type program at Oklahoma State, and that's been unveiled and revealed and documented in places like Sports Illustrated, completely investigating, researching, and exposing what happened there. He comes to LSU. There are hints of some issues, but up until the last couple of weeks, we didn't know to what extent. And now Kansas, despite, from everything I've gathered, there not being anything that has been brought to the attention of anyone that has gone on there, I think it was the right move to make for Kansas to separate itself from Les Miles based on his transgressions at two other stops, and who knows what's happened there the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point you just brought up, Mark. Who knows what he may have been doing in Kansas, because as we saw on that ESPN documentary, he was just running that place with impunity like a king once again. And he was ousted, and it was, I think, a little late. I think Kansas waited a little too long to do that. And what was very interesting was, Jeff Long, their athletic director, goes up there, talks about how we can't have this guy here, all the reasons why. And then the athletic director, Jeff Long, follows him, I think, like a day later, maybe even 16 hours later. And I think we all know why that happened. He did not do his due diligence. I mean, Mark, if you were aware of that 2013 Sports Illustrated report, if I was aware of that 2013 Sports Illustrated report, but he wasn't aware, when he has all those resources, private investigators doing background checks, all that stuff, and he can't figure that out. I think that has nothing to do with him not being able to figure that out or it being hidden. I think he did not care. Jeff Long did not care about what happened in that Sports Illustrated report. He hired Les Miles anyway, and now Kansas, just like LSU, are paying the price for it. And, it's good to see. I think LSU can be agents of change this year. I think Coach O, Scott Woodward, they're the two guys to lead LSU's roster into the future. There haven't been any the current roster does not have any players who've had any violations whatsoever. This is a high-character roster, high-character team. There's been no incidents since last year's Ray Parker in August 2020. Before him, it was quite a bit as well. So I feel like LSU, they're trending upwards with the Title IX stuff. I know it's, you can only go up from how bad LSU was, but I see some positivity. I see some change. I see LSU students, the Tigers Against Sexual Assault group, I see them protesting. I see LSU's administration finally giving Samantha Brennan, a victim of Darius Geis, finally giving her an unredacted police report. Finally. It's little things, it's subtle things, but, hearing Scott Woodward say, our athletic director, say things like, hopefully our actions will speak louder than our words, it does make you feel like LSU can be an agent of positive change, especially in a nation full of sexual assault on college campuses. If LSU needs to be the microcosm of this problem in this country, okay, fine. we'll be the example of how not to do it, and then we'll also be the example of how to change the culture.
So, Lon, before we go forward with what is the current status and what's going on right now, I just want to close on a few points concerning Les Miles.
Okay.
He and Jeff Long have a history. So they were buddies back at the University of Michigan. So there was a connection there, as you know. And Jeff Long, as you mentioned, didn't do his due diligence. So there's a few things here. Now, this Sports Illustrated report, it's not like, okay, there are a zillion websites out there, and even Sports Illustrated being as big as they are, SI.com is, of course, the internet name, and then they've got a zillion subsites, so I could understand some kind of report getting lost or whatever. But number one, all you have to do is Google Les Miles investigate. You're gonna find tons of stuff. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, this was back at a time when Sports Illustrated, actually, I read this. I didn't have to dig for this, or I didn't just stumble upon it. It came in my mail. It was in the hard copy, the big Sports Illustrated national issue. It wasn't buried on some website somewhere.
I think I still have my own issue too. I saved all my issues, still do, with Sports Illustrated. With Rolling Stone magazine as well. I'm just kind of a weird guy with that. I've got
boxes of them, Lon.
Yeah,
I do as well. Yeah.
I probably have that issue somewhere, man. Like you're saying, it was hard to miss. LSU fans did not miss it either, but it just seemed to be dismissed as something from Les's past that came out of Oklahoma State. And I'm hearing Ross Dellinger and all these other guys saying, "How could we miss this? How did we not see this?" I don't buy that. I think you guys didn't care. I think you guys could have dug a little deeper. I think you guys could have looked a little harder. If I were hearing the rumors clear from half the country away about Les Miles, certainly they were hearing it within Baton Rouge because I know it was making the rounds there. But, the past is the past. LSU needs to make sure they do right by their past mistakes. Each and every one, go down the line, make amends, fix the past, and then we can move forward.
Okay, I'm all for protesting. I want to support the rights of people to protest, of course. I'm just curious because sometimes I don't get this question answered. What are you protesting? So what do they want to be the response to the protest?
From the players?
So there's the student protest, correct?
Yeah.
So what do they want the result of the protest to be?
I think they want Verge Osbury fired. I think they want Miriam Seeger fired. I think if you were to ask most students at LSU, most people probably under the age of 40, if I could give you a little demographic there, they probably all want President Tom Galligan to resign immediately for his decision on Friday. It's intense, and there's a lot of online talk of LSU shouldn't even have a football team. A lot of people who are in big higher up places in this country, whether it's in the media, in the sports industry, what have you, are saying LSU doesn't even deserve a football team at this point because of how out of control they were with a lack of institutional control, with the Title IX just cover-ups. LSU has to do right. And that protest was basically these TASA members sitting in the road just to prevent the players from driving their vehicles, which is very interesting because it was almost trying to say, hey, we're going to take away one of your privileges today, just to kind of remind them that, hey, this isn't going away. Just because all weekend it was crazy and Monday morning you thought it would just be different. No, we're here again. And I think that was really cool to see from LSU students. I'm really proud of LSU students for doing that. I think they understand why Verge Osbury was not ousted so quickly. Selective service, that's very hard to get someone ousted from that position. But I think they want to see more done. And I think LSU are taking tiny steps, but they're the right steps. I want to see more and more and more.
Yeah, when it comes to protesting, the issue that I have is sometimes the manner in which the protest is displayed. And based on what you just described, I just don't like the thought of 105 football players, and who knows how many would be involved with this kind of conduct right now. I don't think it involves any current football players, correct?
Nope. It doesn't.
So I don't want to see them being impeded to go to the practice field and practice football. Doesn't have anything to do with them.
Absolutely. That's the thing. I encourage the protest. I support the protest fully, but I also want the protest. I want to speak to the protesters right now directly to the TASA members. There is not a player on this roster who is not sickened by what they heard and what they read. There is not a single player on this roster who doesn't care about what happened. There is not a single player on this roster who doesn't want to enact change in their own lives. I've seen it. I've heard these words from these players myself. I've heard them talk to me. I've heard a player cry to me over what happened. So if you want to tell me that the players and this team don't care, well, maybe I should publicize a little more how much they care, how much they've told me they care. So, I mean, it's a delicate issue. I get it, because the perpetrators were themselves football players, and the people who protected them were in the football community and the athletics community. I 100% understand that, and understand why people who are unfamiliar with athletics or even straight up against athletics, why they can't understand why maybe these current crop of Tigers aren't rapists and wife beaters and girlfriend beaters, because they're not. And I feel like we need to understand that we can't paint all the protesters one way. We can't paint all the Tigers one way. We can't paint all the past football players one way. We can't paint everyone in the athletic department one way. We need to be very careful about what we're doing here, and who we're saying did what and what they did. And you have to use the word allegedly. You have to be very careful about what you're saying here, and people need to be smart.
So there are current football players that you've heard from directly.
Yes.
Do some of these players take to social media at all? I'm not saying that they should. I'm just curious as to whether they've made any statements in social media.
I'm unaware of any like public social media statements by these players. There could be. I'm just unaware of them. I know I've seen a little subtle comments about, things got to change, stuff like that from a few guys, but nothing straight up, nothing definitive. I think they've been told to refrain from that. But I have had 4 different players talk to me, 4 current players, 2 of which are, maybe bench guys, maybe bench options. But the other 2 are 2 of the biggest stars on the team at LSU. And they were absolutely sickened. They were absolutely disgusted. They went to the Coach Orgeron. They went to the president. They demanded answers themselves. So it's not just the students who are looking for answers. It's not just the TASA members. The LSU Tigers themselves are looking for answers.
Well, that's good to hear. That is good to hear that they have a concern for what's happened in the past. And even though, they could easily say, you know what, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's not going on now. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
Take care of other people. But they don't want to be associated with that. And they want that type of behavior to be dealt with. And they want that to be dealt with in a manner to prevent it from coming back into the program as well. So, again, good to hear. Lon Philip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey, breaking down the Tigers. So we're actually going to talk some football. Arik Gilbert, there's a name from the past there. He spent all of about 4 weeks as a Florida Gator, but I don't think he ever stepped on campus. He certainly never caught a pass.
Nope.
So his 35 catches from LSU, he may be able to add on to that. So do we know something there?
I from a variety of sources within LSU, because I heard it from one person. I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy it from just one. So I got to go to at least 4 here. Usually it's 3 sources. I'm good with something. It's pretty much basically confirmed as long as those are reliable, which I don't waste my time with anyone who's not. So I went with 4. And that 4th source is a parent of an LSU Tiger who is very close to Arik's family. And they said there's a full court press going on towards Arik Gilbert. LSU wants to get Arik Gilbert back on campus, but they're not willing to break up the locker room continuity to do that. They're not willing to bow down to a weird set of demands, which I am not able to confirm, but supposedly I've heard from my buddies at One Team One podcast that he issued a set of demands to come back onto the team. I have not heard of that. I am not sure of that. I've been looking into that. Can't find anything about it. But his grades are very bad. He's got a 1.0 GPA, and I feel like he might have to go to junior college route first just to get back here. I know LSU will do almost about anything to get him back on campus as long as it will retain that harmony within the locker room, the harmony on campus, that continuity within the team. But they're not going to break the bank. They're not going to go Alabama just to get Arik Gilbert here. But we're hearing a lot of interesting rumors and whispers about Arik Gilbert.
Must we take a shot at Alabama?
I know. What would my appearances be without a shot at Alabama, Mark? Come on.
Well, I hear about that then. If we have unsubstantiated, derogatory comments to make about Alabama, then,
Hey, if we're supposed to believe Rush Probst.
I'm not supposed to believe him.
I know. I'm a little hesitant to believe him as well. It was very interesting to hear what he had to say, though. But
I wouldn't doubt it.
Exactly.
But I don't necessarily believe him, but I also don't doubt it.
Yeah, and the source has to be a little questioned there, considering what Rush Probst just got in trouble for.
Sure.
It's like Rush, you're kind of talking a little out of turn there, buddy.
I kind of liken it to Jose Canseco when he,
yes,
broke out all the steroids allegations, and everybody said, "Well, that's Jose Canseco. Who could believe him?" Well, all turned out to be true.
Yeah, who knows steroids better than Jose Canseco? But LSU looking like they're in the mix for Gilbert, and it's looking interesting. Here's the thing: I'm going to make a wager that I don't expect him to return to LSU this year, but if he can get his grades up, if he can get, the talk that's swirling around him about his mental illnesses, about all this stuff, I'm not sure about any of that being true or not. I don't think Arik Gilbert has a mental illness, but if he does, I hope he gets the help he seeks, the help he needs. And I feel like if Arik Gilbert can get back to that level where he feels comfortable in his own skin, I feel like he comes back to LSU. I don't see any other school he would want to be at. I know his mom would love him to come back to LSU as well. But, still up in the air, still a lot in play.
I would like to know what kind of rock star demands we're talking about. Are we talking about a certain brand of flavored water at the locker, or, all types of M&Ms minus take out all the green ones, or
take out all the brown ones.
Crazy demands?
The Van Halen request, take out all the brown M&Ms. Actually, I think it was $100,000 supposedly, some type of car, and a few other things. I think one of those included no drug tests. But I really think that I heard that from a pretty accurate source. But it just seems so outrageous that I have to just everyone who just heard what I just said about Arik Gilbert and those demands, just take a step back and research that and make sure we can confirm that before that's true. Because I'm telling you right now, it's not 100% true. I need to figure out if it is. But supposedly he's issued some demands, but still haven't confirmed that.
Do you think, back to the allegations and the issues going on campus, do you think that could cause players to transfer?
Yes. I think players who are a little paranoid about maybe the NCAA penalties that could be coming in here, players who are in a position where they need LSU, they need a stable environment, a stable school for the next few years to make their career. I think if you're staring at the situation right now, I don't think you think LSU are going to be banned for a bowl next year or anything like that. But you got to wonder about the culture. You got to wonder about different things going on within the program. And Mo Hampton just transferred this weekend. Free safety Mo Hampton, and it had nothing to do with football. Actually, it had everything to do with baseball. Everything to do with with Maneri, the coach on the baseball team, not keeping his word with certain commitments he made to Mo Hampton, and then Maneri goes right out and tried to lie about why Mo transferred. And Tika Hampton, Mo's mom, went right up on there on Twitter and said that is a blatant lie, called him out, and said, Maneri came out through Brooks Kubina. Brooks Kubina posts that quote, and Tika was immediately like, "That's a lying quote from Brooks Kubina. There's no way that Maneri can believe that." And Maneri actually does believe that, and it's sad that LSU has to lose such a talent like Mo, because he's such a great two-sport star, and he was very committed with football just as much as he was with baseball. His focus was on baseball, though. We can't deny that. His focus was on baseball. Obviously, he's transferring from the team due to the baseball team. So, I mean, this is a guy who turned away $1.8 million as a teenager, to come to LSU. This is a guy who was highly touted, and he was a great free safety as a freshman at LSU. He played long minutes at the end of the 2019 season. He was all over the field. He smashed Jalen Hurts into the ground in the CFP semifinal. Just a fantastic coverage guy as well, because you could put him back there in kind of a double free safety look, and then move Jacoby Stevens up to the line of scrimmage and let him just attack at will. And that's why you saw LSU's defense just skyrocket in the last few games of the season. Mo Hampton was invaluable, but he suffered through 2020. He was making horrible tackles, just big blown coverages where he just completely left the guy wide open on the one side of the field. It's just he stood up, was counted at the end of the season, made a few amazing plays, including that fourth goal line stand with Jacoby Stevens against Florida. That was fantastic. But Mo Hampton, he struggled. 27 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He is yet another 2019 national champion Tiger who we won't see evolve. And that's sad, because there's so much talent on that 2019 team that didn't graduate or didn't go to the NFL the next year. And, Mo was one of those guys.
LSU football is on the field for spring practice. We've got Lon Phillip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey. We've heard some comments from Coach O regarding how spring practice is going. Your thoughts about what he has had to say?
He's seeing guys that have a tremendous attitude about themselves. He's excited about 20 of 22 starters returning. There's 33 different guys returning who started a game for LSU. That's a fantastic number right there. And, one of the biggest indicators of LSU winning a national championship is returning starters. And there is no bones about it. He said these guys came back for one reason only, to win a championship. He's talking about their great leadership. He's talking about how they're excited about these new coaches. They're dedicated to these new coaches. They ended the season with 2 huge back-to-back wins against, hated SEC competition. We saw, all these random guys stepping up. You saw Jay Ward playing like a all-star corner, all-world, unbelievable corner at the last back of the season. 2 picks in one game against Ole Miss. 1 he takes to the house. 1 against Florida. Blocks a field goal against Arkansas to seal that victory. Seal the 3-point victory, I should say. And forced a fumble against Alabama. Just amazing plays, racking up the tackles as well. There's talk of him moving to free safety, actually, if Todd Harris can't figure it out there, or Jordan Tolles. He is an option there. You also saw people like Dwight McGlothern coming off the bench and making big plays. Opponents were 0 for 4 in red zone targets against Dwight McGlothern, including his first play from scrimmage against Florida. Comes in off the bench because Eli Ricks went out due to an injury for a little bit. And he comes in, and the first target is right at him in the end zone, and he breaks up the pass. And, Dwight McGlothern is another guy who's just a great locker room dude. He's just a goofy guy, really funny guy that brings the humor to the team, but he's such a hard worker and so unbelievably talented that he's the complete package. You know, with Eli Ricks, Derek Stingley, and then people like Jay Ward and Dwight McGlothern, you got 4 number 1 corners on that team. 4 guys who could start for any SEC team, I believe, and who were recruited by Nick Saban to be their number 1 guy just as much as Orgeron recruited them to be his. And so it's unbelievable depth at DB for LSU. And with Durante Jones coaching them, fantastic. But, you know, there's so much leadership on this team. The offensive line has returned all 5 starters. The defensive line has returned 3 seniors. And it's just, this team is loaded.
You can get an LSU face mask for free if you go to voiceofcollegefootball.com and register right there. So you go to voiceofcollegefootball.com. You go to the top menu bar, see register for free, and we will get you a coupon code that gets you a free LSU face mask. And then you get 20% off your first purchase. That doesn't mean you need to buy anything if you don't want to, but you do get 20% off the first purchase. And then we get you into a drawing for a $25 gift card. So how about that? Lon, I'm looking at these 2022 commits. We got 10 hard commits right now. It's the number 1 class in the SEC, number 2 in the nation. Of course, a long way to go, but we know that's going to hold in terms of top 5 for sure, we would think. So who stands out to you? Who do you like? Are there any other targets that we could expect may commit soon?
Shamar Stewart, strong side defensive end. This guy is an absolute wrecking ball. I mean, LSU has had great, you know, we've got a great track record of bringing in defensive linemen from Florida. You know, Bryce Langston just came in, and he looks like, you know, Coach Orgeron called him potentially the most talented defensive lineman he's recruited at LSU. That's incredible. And Shamar Stewart is just like a different kind of Bryce Langston. He's not as big as Bryce Langston. Bryce is really a beefy defensive end who could even be moved inside. Shamar is a 6'5", 240, just, I wouldn't call it a tweener, but he's extremely versatile. This guy is so fast. And I really would love to see what Shamar Stewart could do with LSU's defensive line, especially with all the guys we have in 2021 moving into 2022. Seeing Shamar on a line with guys like Ojolari, Ali Guy, Jaquelin Roy, Mason Smith, Landon Jackson, Savion Jones. I mean, that would just be outrageous. But, you know, there's just a lot of different interesting moving pieces here. You know, Earl Little Jr., who I said last time, I really felt like he was, you know, moving towards LSU. I've heard some more news updates on Earl Little Jr. that, you know, are making me feel a little more 50-50 about this. Saban told him that he's his number 1 corner on the board, which, you know, we'll see if that's to be believed, but it looks like Saban is going hard after him. Earl Little Sr. seemed to be more partial for Earl Jr. to be going to Alabama rather than LSU. He seemed to kind of have that Patrick Surtain kind of mentality of LSU don't win championships, Alabama does, because as written in Coach Orgeron's book, there's a part where Pat Surtain the first tells Coach O, Pat Surtain the second can't come to LSU because LSU don't win national championships. And then the next year, we won a national championship. So I just wanted to highlight that and how Earl Little Jr., you know, if you want to win a national championship, you want to be a top 5 DB pick in the NFL draft, come to LSU, bro. Also, you know, Trevante Citizen, things are cooling off with him. I don't feel like he's coming to LSU. LSU are really stacked at running back already, but we are still looking for 2 more key backs this class. I'm kind of wondering if Trevante Citizen is in that category, or if he's really, or if LSU are kind of cooling on him. I'm still kind of wondering about that. Aaron Anderson, underrated receiver, just committed to LSU, 12th position guy in the state for Louisiana, 12th receiver in the state. I think Aaron Anderson is being really just underappreciated. I think he could be a very special player at LSU, but we're still to see.
We will note that Patrick Surtain still got his national championship.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. A year later, though. But yes,
Okay.
yeah, he did indeed. Kamari Rogers, there's just more and more buzz about him coming to LSU and all this talk, but we'll see. I mean, from what I felt like he decommitted from LSU. I'm not 100% on that right now, but I feel like he committed to LSU and then decommitted. But I still think there's a chance LSU could get him back. But the 2022 class is shaping up nicely because here's the thing. The 2021 class, yes, we missed out on things like offensive line and maybe even cornerback, you could say. There wasn't enough high-quality corners. Well, for the 2022 class, they've already made up for that. Lucas Taylor, Will Campbell, Bo Bordelon already at offensive line with Malik Agbo potentially coming in. And then at corner, you got LaTerrence Welch, who I feel like is absolutely sick. He is just unbelievable. A lot of teams cooled off of him because he got hurt last year. LSU jumped on him during that injury process, and now LSU are reaping the benefits because he's such an incredible, incredible corner. I cannot believe that he is not a 5-star. I believe that 5th star will be coming shortly. Emory Jones, offensive guard. I feel like he could come to LSU as well. Baton Rouge, Louisiana native. I feel like, from Catholic High, Emory Jones is someone who's seen LSU from very close proximity his entire life. I feel like Emory Jones is as close to a lock as possible, especially with all the guys coming in on the offensive line. I think there's quite an in-state offensive line fence being built. Or actually not even a fence, a fiery moat. But, LSU, this class still has a long way to go, Mark. But when you're starting out with guys like Walker Howard, most unbelievable quarterback of the 22 and 2021 classes combined, in my opinion, the guy just manipulates the pocket unlike anybody we've ever seen, extends the play, improvises, makes blitzers miss in the backfield. I mean, he's crazy, Mark. But expect Shamar Stewart to be committing soon to LSU. I really expect that. LSU have been pushing hard for him. There's talk of also receiver Shaz Preston being less of an LSU lock than was expected, and maybe even perhaps not coming to LSU. We'll see.
Lon Phillip Sullivan, LSU Odyssey. Head on over there. Check out the work that he does, the rest of the crew there. LSU Odyssey with Lon Phillip Sullivan, and joins us on a regular basis to break down the Bayou Bengals. Lon, we appreciate you doing some heavy lifting for us today.
Mark, thank you so much, man. And hey, everybody, subscribe to the channel. Mark Rogers is the best. Voice of college football. Subscribe now. Go Tigers.